In this final season of the Cuphead Show, we were able to get a new look at some familiar relationships, as well as a few completely new relationships in general.
I'd like to inquire about this nice list of yours.
From fast friendships and family bonds, to forever enemies. Which ones are the most healthy, and which are totally toxic? Now, full-on spoiler warning from this point onward, as we'll be discussing the entirety of the final season. First off, we have the relationships that managed to stand out as the most stable, as well as the happiest. These are the healthy relationships. Taking our gold medal of healthiness is the trio of Cuphead, Mugman, and Chalice. The relationship between these three really has come a long way, hasn't it? Long gone are the days where it would seem like Chalice would abandon the boys at the drop of a hat. In fact, in this season, we see her do the exact opposite. While she is intimidated into working for the devil, she actually refuses to betray her two best friends in the end, and is willing to accept her own death so long as Cuphead and Mugman aren't hurt. The boys, in turn, are willing to fight for her in order to save Chalice's life.
This is a brave thing you're doing. Stupid, but brave.
Outside of these instances, the three of them have a really strong connection to each other, always having fun. The only potential negative we could see is that Chalice isn't always the best influence on the boys, but even that is pretty minor when compared to the great friendship that they have. For our silver medal of healthiness, we're giving it to the brotherly relationship between Cuphead and Mugman. This relationship also saw a massive improvement in the transition between seasons 2 and 3. Though we suppose being rescued from hell would put people on some pretty good terms with one another. While Cups and Mugs still bicker on occasion, for the most part it's seen as harmless. Additionally, although both Cuphead and Mugman have their moments of selfishness, they truly do love and care about each other, as seen in how protective they are. Even after all the trouble that Cuphead has caused for him, Mugman still doesn't doubt his rescue efforts for a second, fully believing him.
The deal is done. Now, get out!
We couldn't give this relationship the top spot, however, due to Cuphead still having a bit of a ways to go in terms of becoming a better brother, but we still consider their relationship to be a pretty healthy and wholesome one. Finishing up this section, the bronze medal of healthiness is going to the family of Cuphead, Mugman, and Elder Kettle. While these three may still play pranks on each other or get on each other's nerves, the love between the three of them is really felt in this season. This is especially true in the Christmas episode, where Elder Kettle doesn't blame the boys for accidentally ruining their tree, and instead focuses on the importance of being together. One small knock against this relationship, however, is when the boys lie about going to the movies, and then sneaking out when Kettle offers to drive them. Dishonesty is never a good thing, even if the other person is being clingy, and you just want to get away for a bit. Moving into the next tier, we have relationships that aren't too bad, but could certainly use a bit of work. Welcome to the gray area. Starting out this section, we have the honestly pretty amusing relationship between Elder Kettle and the devil, or should we say Mrs. Meow Meow. After hitting the devil with his car, Elder Kettle mistakes the devil for a regular cat and tries to take care of him. While the devil does lie and only plays along in order to try and get to Cuphead, he actually starts to like being Kettle's pet for a bit, with the two even cuddling together. It's very weird, but also kinda sweet. Even when the devil decides to drop the charade, he can't bring himself to take Elder Kettle's soul, despite the time crunch he's under, showing that the devil did genuinely care for the old man at least a little. Keeping with the Elder Kettle relationships, we have the one between him and his goat. Although the goat doesn't do much other than graze outside and repair the fence when needed, he does still care about his owner, making an effort to keep Elder Kettle company when he's feeling lonely. Meanwhile, Kettle can on occasion be dismissive of the goat if he thinks he's in the way, and even sort of ignores the goat after he finds Mrs. Meow Meow. But overall, he still seems to consider the goat to be a buddy and a good pet. Moving on, we have the brief relationship between Mugman and the devil. Obviously, when compared to the devil's rivalry with Cuphead, there isn't going to be nearly as much malice or hostility there. Yes, the devil did kidnap Mugman, but he doesn't really do all that much in his attempts to break him.
Are you enjoying the underworld?
Mugman, in turn, isn't nearly as eager to mess with the devil as Cuphead likely would be. Really, even if they are technically enemies. This relationship is about as neutral as it gets, with how little these two come up on each other's radar. Although we suppose that the devil trying to sabotage Mugman's play audition also brought the relationship down a good bit. For a relationship that could have been really good, we have Santa Claus and the devil. On Santa's side of things, he's actually a pretty good friend and genuinely tries to help the devil get what he wants, to be on the nice list, as well as help him be a nicer person in general. This includes giving the devil multiple second chances, and even entrusting him with his Christmas delivery. This relationship, however, is fairly one-sided. Although the devil may show respect to Santa, he only gives it up until a certain point. Once the devil hears that he's not going to get his toy train, he basically calls it quits with Santa, insulting him on his way out.
You are all a bunch of idiots!
The way this relationship ended is sort of a bummer, but it certainly could have been worse. Before we get to our lower half of our list, let's briefly mention the brotherly relationship between Ribby and Crooks. While they only significantly matter in one scene this season, we learn in that scene that Ribby and Crooks actually, and frequently, try to hurt and kill each other.
Ooh, I see you got the exploding shoes I sent you.
However, they don't take it too seriously, and in fact, just seem to see it as a joke between brothers. It's still not exactly a healthy bonding activity, but the fact that they're both able to get a laugh out of it is enough for us to cut the relationship a bit of slack. Next, we have the relationship between Porkrind, Cuphead, and Mugman. Though he's not fantasizing about smashing their heads anymore, it's pretty evident that Porkrind doesn't care too much for the Cup brothers. While this is made clear to them, the Cups still seem to like Porkrind well enough, despite knowing what a greedy cheapskate he can be.
You've got a lot of nerve, Porkrind.
But perhaps there's more to this relationship than meets the eye. It's only after Porkrind hears how the shoes he's having them deliver are explosive ones that he starts to change his mind about wanting them dead. He may still hate them, but we will say it's a slight improvement. Following is the pretty famous partnership between the Devil and King Dice. Though they were never quite as close in the show as they were in the game, this season probably shows them at their closest in terms of the show's portrayal of them. Even after being threatened and dismissed by him, King Dice still seemed to respect the Devil quite a bit, though he does threaten him in the episode where they reunite. The Devil also ends up respecting King Dice for his liveliness and his entertainment skills to the point of rehiring him.
I'll give you one last chance.
Although there's still a very obvious power imbalance in their dynamic, which can be a bit problematic, it's still nice to see these two start to become the partners that we knew them as. Finishing up the gray area, we're going to be ranking Cuphead and the Devil. Honestly, these two for the most part still pretty much hate each other, despite how similar they can be at times. They eagerly try to get back at or sabotage each other, and we certainly can't forget the whole Devil wants Cuphead's soul thing. But similar to how they were able to briefly bond over funny jokes in Season 1, we see them bond again in Season 3's Big Christmas episode, where the Devil is able to sympathize with Cuphead's struggles to be good, leading to him giving Cuphead the toy train he would have stolen from him. It's a pretty small moment in the grand scheme of things, but it does show in the right circumstances. Maybe these two could be friends. With the gray area wrapped up, it's time to talk about the unstable and unhealthy relationships. These are the toxic relationships. First off, we have the incredibly brief partnership between King Dice and Cuphead. Let's just be clear here. The only reason why this relationship is so low on the list is because of King Dice. While Cuphead may have done everything that he could to help Dice out of the gutter, Dice was planning on just using him and later betraying Cuphead without any real hesitation. It's pretty savage to say the least, and shows just how little King Dice cares for the people other than himself, in spite of Cuphead still being one of his biggest fans. Just outside the podium of toxicity is the relationship between the Devil and Miss Chalice. In a way, this relationship goes beyond the hostility that can be found in the Devil's relationships with other characters like Cuphead. When it comes to Chalice specifically, the Devil is incredibly manipulative, using both his words and his powers as a way to terrify her into obeying his orders. Additionally, like with most people she meets, Chalice isn't really afraid to be a little manipulative herself, using her charm and dancing to distract the Devil.
You just seem to be getting younger and younger and younger.
Though, speaking of dancing, the fact that they're able to bond through their love of dancing is the only real bright spot in this relationship. Taking the bronze medal of toxicity is the extremely one-sided friendship between the devil and Henchman. Really, Henchman's side of things has very few issues, thanks to him just being such a great friend. In this season specifically, we see him be kind, comforting, and supportive without being too much of an enabler for the devil's evilness. Henchman also goes out of his way to make his boss happy, like when he secretly gets him a toy train that he can ride on.
Merry Christmas, boss.
Unfortunately, the devil can't usually return the same courtesy. He's reluctant to give Henchman a well-earned vacation, and he still is often seen snapping at or berating the guy. As far as we're concerned, while they may still be a fun duo, Henchman definitely deserves better. Our silver medal of toxicity has to go to Miss Chalice and the orphanage penguins. Yeah, there's definitely no love or motherly affection here, just hard work and stern discipline, with the penguins even going so far as to deny Chalice lunch if she didn't finish her chores or broke their no fun rule. Their treatment of her was so extreme that even after she escaped, Chalice truly felt like she couldn't rely on or look out for anyone but herself. It's a pretty tragic backstory that came from a no doubt toxic relationship. And finally, our gold medal of toxicity is going to the devil and Stickler. Unlike many of the other relationships on this list, where there's more good than bad traits to the relationship, or at least one person in it behaving in a healthy way, there's just none of that here. Going beyond a standard business relationship, these two not only don't seem to care about each other, but also seem to look down on and actively despise each other. Stickler only cares about Hell's productivity, and thus is perfectly fine with ruining the devil's mood to get their soul collecting back on track.
Quota satisfied.
While the devil is frequently seen either dismissing Stickler's concerns or actively trying to kill him. Really, the fact that they are essentially stuck with each other just makes the whole thing worse, and we couldn't really think of a relationship any more toxic than this one. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge more of our videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.